You're listening to the VO Life with Troy Holden.
This episode is sponsored by VOinbox.com, the only full-service marketing tool for established professional voice actors.
Hey, good morning and welcome back to the VO Life, live from two places today. I'm the same old guy that's here every week, Troy Holden, here near Nashville, Tennessee. I have a guest with me this morning, and we're going to talk about some things in the industry, and Lord knows where it'll go. Good morning, Deanna Johnston. How are you?
Good morning, Troy. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I got my air conditioning fixed here yesterday. Last year I didn't need it because I guess I set this booth up late in the year, and it started getting hot quick. And when I shut the door, I noticed in about 15 minutes it was 84 degrees in here, and I said, I got to get air coming in here. So I got it fixed yesterday, and this vent behind me, I can just feel it trickling in. It's quiet, you don't hear it, but cold air hits the back of my head. It feels great.
That's amazing.
Feels great.
I definitely don't have that. My booth's pretty hot, even though I have some kind of a ventilation system. It's boiling.
Yeah, I can imagine. But if I leave the door open, it's fine, and I can record with the door open most of the time. But sometimes, if it's a session or blah, 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 I got to shut the door, and then my fan's not blowing. And yeah, these things get hot. I was spoiled being in an open room. I miss it.
Oh, yeah. I have another reason for it getting really hot in here, and maybe some of your listeners can relate. Ever heard of menopause? It's been brutal. Imagine being stuck in a box, just like I remember seeing my mom go through it. Like she'd all of a sudden, it looked like somebody dumped water on her head. She just boiled.
Oh, no.
And my dad used to tease her, and we would, and now it's like, oh my gosh, I get it.
You get it now, don't you?
Oh man. Anyways.
Yeah.
Ladies,
Yeah.
so.
Well, first off, congratulations on your nominations at OBC this year. That's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
That's
It's a shock and really, wow. I really feel blessed. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I know last year I had people texting me, said, "Oh my gosh, you've got 2 nominations." Then somebody sends me one, "You got 3." Then you got 5, and I'm like, and then this year, thanks to the demo that you and I did together, I got a nomination on that one this year.
Isn't that awesome?
I'm really happy with that because it's kind of a full circle thing. It's nice to know that part of what I have learned to do came around. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah,
a good thing.
we did great with it for sure. I was so thrilled with that nomination. And you know what else? I know that a lot of people, there's always, why do that? Why, who cares if you get awards? Like some people are for it, against it. And I don't know about anybody else, but this, the VO industry is so hard. Like you're constantly wondering if you're good enough. Am I sucking? Blah, blah. It's like such a pit. So at least when you can get maybe a nomination, like recently I've been struggling, and for that to have happened, I'm like, okay, I must be doing something half right. Somebody saying you're doing good. So I feel like I kind of need that occasionally to keep me going.
Oh yeah. It's just like when you get a booking. You book something on one of the casting sites. I'm back and forth in my email all day. And yesterday I popped open a thing and it says you've been awarded. And when I see you've been awarded, I'm like, oh boy, I got one. And so it pumps you up for a few days and keeps you positive, because as we all know, if you get in the dumps and you get depressed and down, your auditions are going to suck.
I know.
It's really hard to audition like that. That's one of the things I want to talk about today. And I mentioned this last week. I talked about the numbers game, and I want to talk about how that affects you and how you play. We all play the numbers game, but we all play it different. And I kind of wanted to hear with you, because you are more of you do have a niche in your voice that with the lower more raspy type reads that you can do, but you also can really get in there and swing at all the Gen Am and middle of the road stuff. So how does it work for you on the numbers stuff?
Right. Well, I'm like you, Troy. We started actually around the same time and probably had the same sort of mentors and people telling us the same things. And it was always a numbers game. And so that's what I always strive for. And especially, like you said, I'm fairly versatile. So, I would audition for anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I auditioned once for, it was a 70-year-old woman, Asian, and I got the gig. I was chosen. And I'm like, oh,
Really?
yeah, I
That's
couldn't believe it. But
that's funny.
part of me, I still fall into that trap, which is a
Mm-hmm.
problem because I'm still grinding it out in this booth, 10 hours a day. Where
Mm-hmm.
it's if I could change my mindset, which I'm trying, but yeah, for the most part, I'll audition for anything that has like less than 10 people who've already auditioned.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I
Mm-hmm.
do it. If
Yeah,
and
and that's another thing I think is important too. But on the other hand, I'll say this: I have booked, I won't say several times, probably 8 or 10 times on platforms where there were close to 100 auditions by the time I saw it.
Wow.
And I don't know. I guess my belief is if they are really looking for something specific,
Right.
and it's a fit for me, and
Hmm.
that's the thing. If the specs just nail it, if it's the storytelling and whether it says Southern or not, if it's down to earth, salt of the earth, whatever,
Right.
then I have to do it. I mean, I'm not going to skip it. But
Right.
you always think, well, if they've already got 25 or 30, they've already got what they want. Probably they may listen to some more, but they probably got what they want. And
Yeah.
that makes it hard. But that, you're talking about 10 or less, I'm going to go for it. Either I'm really, really slow most of the time. Occasionally I'll see something that's under 10, but hardly ever. It's usually in the 20s or 30s.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And just talking about voice one, two, three for a second, I pay for the $2,200 level. And, some of them do come in five, I just saw one that had five people, but they're coming in at, I'm on the West Coast, they're coming in at, maybe 8 o'clock at night and then two, three, four, 5 in the morning. And,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's worth it. I'm getting pretty
Right.
frustrated on that site.
Right. Right.
But and that and not you don't want to. I just actually got leveled up to the top 10% too, and I have barely auditioned on there lately, so I don't know how that happened, but I don't notice a difference with, for me anyways, the opportunities coming in more
Mm-hmm.
or less, whether I'm in the bottom. I was in the bottom 50 forever, so I don't, for me, I don't care about that. I'm trying not to be, I don't want to give myself another reason to stress out over an audition. I
Right.
want to try
Right.
and understand what it's about and do it and not worry if it's, so, but again, who knows? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. You're
I'm
right.
actually, yeah, I'm not booking a lot on pay to plays much lately, or
Mm-hmm.
what are you supposed
Mm-hmm.
to call them now? They're not pay to play.
Oh, online casting.
Online
Online
casting.
casting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
online
Yeah.
cast.
And we'll get into the F word here in a minute too, because that's it's no longer not talked about. When we first got in this, boy, you better not even mention Fiverr.
I know it.
And of course it's
Yeah.
greatly changed, and we'll get into that more. But
Yeah.
let's talk about the other part of your regular business, which is, and you and I have discussed it several times, marketing and patience with marketing. It's
Ah,
almost as big of a drag as auditioning.
absolutely. And actually, I come from a graphic design background. And so I don't mind going on websites and being inspired by the visual aspect of it. And,
Hmm.
it's easy for me to pick out something, relevant to try and connect with somebody. But I got sick of doing that one, it's too time consuming. And
Hmm.
if marketing is a numbers game, I just can't do it anymore. So I hired a virtual assistant to help me with marketing, and he's a very sweet person. But that's something that actually I wanted to talk about was, how do you know when it's not working, when marketing is so, you're always
Hmm.
just constantly sending them out, and then 2-3%, if you're lucky, you hear back from. Maybe, how do you know if it's working or not? Like, I know I'm feeling like this is not working and I don't know how to
Hmm.
be nimble. I've kind of dumped it all on him, and now I'm like, what the heck? What do I do? What's the next
Hmm.
step? So
It,
it's
it,
rough.
it is a grind. And I don't know that there are any true measures that apply to everybody as far as what's a good click-through rate. If you're putting something in there for them to click on, you can't go by opens. That doesn't work. I'm playing the game of, if they're not unsubscribing, I'm not going to stop. And if I send out, and I try to do stuff in smaller groups now, I put people in a sequence, and they get 3 emails, and then it puts them into my regular. And those 3 emails, they will get those over the course of a month. They'll get, just a quick follow-up. And the second one is pretty much saying, if you don't want this anymore, unsubscribe. If you don't want to hear back. If not, I'd love to keep you on my list. And if they don't unsubscribe, they move into a regular pipeline, and I just try to reach out to them at least once a quarter. But but I don't do that with any. I don't have a consistent method for that. I have a method because it's going to tell me on my dashboard, here's some people you hadn't contacted, and it's almost time. I'll do a basic newsletter or something, or I'll send something going on. I'm even leveraging being on the automotive panel at OVC and my automotive marketing. So I'm saying, hey, did you know there's a huge voiceover conference in Dallas, and this year I'll be mediating the automotive panel, where other voice actors come and learn about automotive spots and how to do that. So that they may find interest in that, and then they may go, yeah, that's enough of this crap, and they unsubscribe, and that's fine. Get them out of there.
I think it legitimizes you as a pro. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to do, and even by having a podcast, I'll even send something sometimes about the podcast. Hey, this is probably of no interest, but I've got almost 200 episodes, and it's exactly what you're saying. You're establishing yourself, saying, I do this, I even have a podcast in this, so I kind of know what I'm doing, and maybe you ought to give me a shot, but you run out of stuff. So then you start marketing around holidays, and, just a reminder, this is coming up, and I'm going to go ahead and take off on Thursday and Friday also. And if you need something done, da, 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 da. And even though they're not even a client, you're just letting them know, I'm here, I'm available, so you're trying to stay, as you hear many people say, top of mind.
Yeah.
But,
Anything.
Man, what a grind.
I know. I actually, I've tried several things. I've tried creating samples. I got into legal, legal offices, lawyers. And so I started putting together just, little legal ads and sending it to them using all of their information. And so I tried that, and, that was fun for a while, but time consuming. And something I did recently, which actually people will comment on, is I'll do a little video like this. And I'll just say, hey, thanks so much for reaching out, or thanks so much for taking the time to check me out today. My name's Deanna, blah, blah, blah. This is what I do. And here's a few samples. If you get a minute, let's connect, let's meet. I can help you out, whatever. And then I'll do that for automotive and all the different, genres. And that's been good, because one day I don't know why I sang a Lionel Richie song, Hello. I said something like, hello, I know you need my voiceover. I said something silly and fun. I had a lot of people actually respond to that.
Yeah, that's great.
But then they actually have to, it's still getting somebody to open the stupid email though, right? And click something.
Right. Yeah.
So that's always interesting. What are you going to put in that subject line? Voiceover? Or, something. Yeah. So it's always, who knows? And actually my history with marketing, it started, I think, poorly. Like I said, I have a graphic design background, so it's easy for me to put together interesting visual things. And I was on MailChimp, and they booted me off saying I was, going against their policy, and I didn't understand why. And so I learned about that, and then I've been using Nimble, and I'm always going over limits, or there's always something wrong, and all the emails are getting bounced back, and it's like,
Yeah, the bounces will get you in trouble, because if you have too many bounces, they will shut your domain off, and then there you are with the inability to send or get email.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people all the time, don't use your main
Yeah.
business email. Have the aliases or a different domain. I think I have everything going through Gmail.
Yeah.
Now, when I market, and of course, my website and my business email is that I have through my provider is, myname.com. But the other one is, gmail.com, troyholdenvo at gmail.com. And some
Yeah.
people say, don't do that, don't do that. Well, it doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
really doesn't, because when that email hits the inbox, it says Troy Holden Voices,
Yeah.
whether it comes, whatever email it comes from, because I have them all set up that way.
And you
So,
can put your photo as your little,
yeah.
icon or your logo. And I do the same thing. I think it looks pro. What was I was just gonna bring something up now. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know. I I wonder if there's a lot of people like me who like I'm really good with technology. If somebody shows me something, I'm like, oh, okay. But when I have to just learn on my own, or I don't know, maybe we can start a nimble, like, an online monthly group and somebody who knows what the heck they're doing.
Yeah.
I get on there and we
Yeah.
start,
Yeah.
'cause
I,
I love Mark Scott. I got his nimble course and I went through
mm-hmm.
um but for some reason I don't absorb certain ways. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so that's been a sticking point for me.
Yeah, I'm that way to a point as well. If somebody shows me and then I can do it, and that's why I liked his course. I was able to follow along, pause it, do what I was doing, what he did, and it really helped. It kick-started it. It wasn't, over the top or over the moon. There's still tons of things in there you got to learn on your own. The sequencing is huge, and once you get that one figured out, and I had screwed mine up on the initial. I kept putting stuff in there and I thought, it's not sending anything, what's it waiting
Mm,
on? Well, somehow I didn't have it set up to where it would send the first email. So I'm loading all these people in there and I'm like, I should be on the third follow-up, why is it not, so and I've gotten to the point with them. I just get in the chat thing on there
yeah.
and ask, and they are really, really good. They have really good support. They've, pointed me to the right video link or something to find what was wrong. I was deleting contacts because if they unsubscribe, I would delete them, because I said, that's a spot for somebody else. They don't want to hear from me. That's okay. I'll just delete it. Some people say don't do that, but I didn't also know I could go back to the contact menu and it had in there recently deleted, and then I had to choose them again to get them out.
Oh,
So
wow.
I went in there and looked, and I had several hundred, and then I clicked and got them out. And if they hadn't told me, I wouldn't have ever figured that out. But I thought, why do they keep popping back up in the regular contacts thing? Is because I didn't finally delete them. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a challenge.
it's
CRMs.
frustrating. It's frustrating.
Woo!
So
Absolutely.
let's talk a little bit about that F word, Fiverr.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's changed in the last few years a lot, I think.
So too.
For a lot of people, they saw a huge dip in business, which I understand. The platform has lost a lot of business. I understand a lot of things have gone to AI, but even at different levels, at higher levels, I know people who say they had lost a decent percentage of business. How's it working for you there now, and what challenges do you have with that?
Yeah, Fiverr. I initially went on it when I first learned about voiceover, and I had one girlfriend who's an on-camera actress, and she did some voiceover. And so I told her what I was learning and doing, and she's like, "Oh, Deanna, don't ever do that. That's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Like just like doom and gloom. You're horrible, blah, blah." So I did it anyways because I believed that it was a place to start and get paid to train and fall on my face and at least have the opportunity to make money. So for me, actually, I learned how to do it correctly, and it's been my bread and butter ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Now, definitely, the volume has gone down. Like there was some months I was over 10 grand, which
Mm-hmm.
was when you get to wake up and that comes to you, I mean, that's a blessing. That's a
Mm-hmm.
blessing to not have to
Mm-hmm.
chase for that. Um, so now, it's about half that,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes less, sometimes a little more, but it's definitely can be all over. But I've always said like, oh my gosh, if I didn't have income coming in regularly from that, I don't think I could do this career
Mm-hmm.
because I just, I do all the spokes, I work really hard. I get gigs all over here and there, but I like to have some kind of consistency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's been good, but it's definitely a grind because you're gonna do 10 jobs that pay an amount that maybe, if you got one agency job, it would pay that.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, you can make the money that you should be making in Fiverr, absolutely. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole plethora of different, levels of people willing to pay different things. So it's
Right.
just some days I'm like, I have nothing coming in, and there's a student, and I find him really creative, and I love his video, and I'm like, ooh, that could be a good piece for me to use as a marketing tool. So it's like, sure, I'll do it for $75. It's going to take me, 20 minutes or whatever. So sometimes things like that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, and the non-broadcast stuff
right.
on there for me that was where I got a lot of business like
Huh.
that at one time, and then it started becoming I don't know, last couple of years it was more commercial stuff, name stuff, and they would pay the price. They did understand usage and they would pay it. They didn't try to cheapen you. They understood that how Fiverr worked, that you were just out there for a word count to get them in, and then
Right.
you tacked everything else on as you went along.
Yeah.
And most of the clients were okay with that. I think all the time I've been on there the same amount of time, I have not ever done a 5-figure month there. It's always been, for me, it's always been somewhere between low points. I've had, $400 or $500 months, but most of the time it's, 12, 1,500, something like that. That's always been an average, 2 or 3 orders a month. No big deal.
Yeah.
But the big change for me this year was doing the UGC and the spokesperson stuff. That
Yeah.
boosted the income quite a bit, and that helped. And it was something to do, and you didn't have to worry about a lot of that negotiating or whatever. They pay so much for 30 seconds and so much for 60, and that's it. And I devised a little document that basically says, and I make them sign it every time, that I am a spokesperson. I in no way represent your brand and am not liable for anything. That this is just a paid thing for me to say what I'm saying. And
Now, what made you think to do that?
um, I think initially I thought some of this stuff, it didn't really have a name brand or whatever, but let's just say they send you these gummies and you're on there saying how great they make you feel. Well, I'm not taking them.
Right, right,
So I didn't want to feel like I was misleading anybody. I just wanted them to sign something saying I was a paid spokesperson.
right. I
And
see.
that
Yeah,
was all I wanted. And I had people say, well, they're hiring you for that. That's what it says in the gig. Yeah, but give me that signed and I feel better.
yeah.
It just made
That
me
makes
feel a lot
sense.
better, and it was okay. And I booked last week on there a major firearms company for a spot. They're coming out with a new app, and the guy was in, of all places, Indonesia,
Oh,
who was
wow.
doing the video.
Yep.
The video was fantastic. He let me see it up front, and his English was better than mine. I mean, he had the most articulated comments and things back and forth. But when I started talking about rights for digital, I'm like, why digital? What is this?
Mm,
Where is this going? And then it came down to it was going to run on YouTube. It was going to be a pre-roll, and so I said, okay, well that'll be this much for 6 months or this much for a year. And they're
right.
like, I don't have that much in the budget. I said,
Yeah.
but they do, and you need to go back to them. They're a
Mm-hmm.
huge company. And
Mm-hmm.
and I said, this is the best I can do. I can't do it any less than that. Well, then by now he's already given them my reads. They've
Yeah.
already said we like it. This is who we want, and he got the money.
Good.
And that
Nice.
was great, to be able to see that it even happens on that platform. They sometimes have to go back and fight for it, and when they say, no, my budget's only this, and you can say, but you can't run it for that. That's only 25% of what I should get for this, and
Yeah.
I can't
And
do it for that. So,
And there's so many potential clients on there from all over the world. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
budgets and usage and those things can be different in different
Yeah.
countries. So
Yeah,
that's
sure.
hard to explain that to people at times.
And just like we've seen automotive spots drop in price quite a bit because they figured out we're only using it for 2 weeks. You
Yeah.
know, we're really paying a rate for a 13-week local ad, but it's only going to run 2 weeks. And they have started to negotiate that and tell you, no, we're only paying 150, not 250.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it is what it is. And then when I thought about it, when that first happened to me, my feelings got hurt. I was mad. We all get that way. We don't say anything out loud, but we're stomping around the house going, I can't believe they're just cutting my legs out for money. Why are they doing this? I was making good money on this account, and now they're going to cut it to this.
Yeah.
But then I thought, when I do a local thing here, I do some radio spots for people here close by, and for what they pay me for a fully produced spot, and they may run it for 6 months or whatever, and I know they can't afford much. They're a little screen graphics company here that
Yeah,
makes
exactly.
T-shirts. They're not making a killing, so I try to help out and do that. And I thought, well, these automotive dealerships, they have the money though.
Right.
Some of them are
Yeah.
big multi-location dealerships. They got a big advertising budget, and then they get real picky about it. But I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. We got to make a living.
You just
Got
have
to make a
to,
living.
approach them the best way and say, "What's your budget?"
Yeah.
You can get that
Yeah.
number right away.
Now, you talked about 10 hours of booth time a day.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, that's a
Yeah.
lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot. It's got to be hard. And I know because the last several years I've worked. I always felt like I was working 7 days a week for a long time. I have slowed down. I make myself try not to do stuff, but a lot of times I'll play catch up over the weekend. I might do a podcast. I might work on some of my demos, my website, because
Mhm.
my wife working at night, she's in here sleeping during the day, and especially in
Mhm.
the winter, I don't want to be outside freezing to death. But
Right.
so I'm in here just piddling, I guess
Yeah.
is the right thing. But you're
Fiddling. That's a good
you're
word. Yeah.
seriously banging away hard for that many hours a lot of days.
I'm trying to, but it's hard to stay focused sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
like we all know there's so many things that you should be doing for your business. So
Right.
many
Right.
constantly. And so I'll have in my head, "Oh, I want to do this and this today." And then I'll start this, but then somebody will contact me and want information about that, and that'll remind me, oh, I should do that. And then you're like off to the races all over the place, and you feel like you haven't gotten anything done.
Right.
So it's
Right.
definitely you got to keep focused. But I probably, yeah, I do a lot of volume work. So I'm doing a lot of jobs every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all the time, but that's typically where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you think is your number one challenge that you face when you walk in every morning and sit down? What is the thing that, and let's look at it maybe this way. What's the things you don't want to do, but you got to do?
Lately, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't want to audition.
Yeah.
Like I just voice 123 voices.com. My agent's gigs, I do whatever I can to do those auditions. I will do them. But I'm a lot more allowed. I'm better now actually with, I know I'm not going to get booked with that for that. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not doing it. I'm not doing it. I keep
Mm-hmm.
saying in my head lately, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just and getting stuck in auditions still as far as I can read a script and know where I want to go with it easily. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, all of us can, right? We're all, we can interpret anything. But then I'll get stuck on, well, oh, one little line like, oh, I should have
Yeah.
done, I should do it. You just like getting stuck
Mm-hmm.
in your auditions is the worst thing. And because I am used to, numbers over, anything, it's like, I got to get this out, even if it's an agent audition, which when when I started getting agents, I don't know how many years ago, it was like, you have time. With agents, you need to take your time and really think about more what you're doing and be more strategic. Well, in the last year, I've been told directly the exact opposite. No, you got to get it in.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same kind of thing. You got to be first in there. And so you're like one of the top ones they're considering. If you're like waiting the full 24 hours or whatever they're giving you, you're not, so
Hmm.
that's that's rough because I want to do way better on agent auditions, but I feel like
Sure.
I don't have the time to really sink into them either. So I think it's training, I'm at a place where I need training. And you're always going back to that, right?
Yeah, true.
I
That
feel it.
it never ends. Do you meet with your agents every year and ask for feedback or direction, or hey, how am I doing?
Yeah.
Just to see, am I getting close more often than I think, or do you ever get that kind of feedback?
Yeah. I actually once a year I definitely try to do that.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's yeah, you're one of my short lists a lot. Um y- yeah, I mean, I feel some positive feedback coming back
Right, right.
that it's going well, but it doesn't, I don't know, they're being just nice. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I
because
mean, like,
they they need us at sometimes even when we're not booking a whole lot. I mean, I just uh, one of my agents I have not talked to in a couple of years, but they don't send me a lot, and I know what they send me. It's because they know.
right,
This is probably going to move forward because this is your read. This is you. They know me, and I have another one that is even more targeted on that. I mean, they would not send me anything that says Gen Am or whatever. They know.
right,
But then again, I have had many agents who sent me everything. And
exactly.
and I felt the pressure to audition, because if I don't, they'll stop sending me anything. And I just
Absolutely.
ended up, right or wrong, I ended up last year just sending the email saying, I just don't feel like I'm seeing the right projects from you, and I'd like to just be removed from your roster. And a couple of people said, "You're nuts. Why would you do that?" I said, "Well, they don't know me.
Yeah,
They don't know me. They don't care.
I have to
It's
agree
a
with you.
numbers. They're playing a numbers game.
Yeah,
Hoping out of that 300 people on the roster, there'll be six on there that send in a really good audition. And I wouldn't want to go through 300 to get six.
yeah, and I agree with that. I do have some agents that do that. Like I'll get
Mm-hmm.
anything and everything, and it'll stress me out because I feel like I want to always audition, even
Mm-hmm.
though it's not right for me. And so yeah, I've been considering what you've said. Like I want my agent to know what I'm good at. And
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
funny you said that. Just yesterday, I started emailing them because I started a green screen professional setup like you. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good for agents to know that. So I haven't done it to all of them yet, but just letting them know that I have that capability now. And also I was just nominated for these awards, just like, I'm out here, I'm plugging away and I'm not booking with you yet, but I'm still
Right.
relevant
Right.
and,
Right.
hustling. So just keep top of mind, keep me top of
Mm-hmm.
mind with them as well. So
Yep. And I can remember early on when I got into this, a lot of podcasts I listened to and other VOs were saying, you don't need an agent. You don't have to have an agent. It's less than 1 to 2% of my income a year. And these were people making a really good amount of money. And it is true. You can book a lot of the non big stuff and work a lot more hours as we're showing. And that's what we do, to make the living. But wouldn't it be nice, to be in that other category? It would be awesome. I auditioned for one yesterday, and when I got it, it said something about a pirate. It said the old timey pirate voice, and it had "arg" written out. I was like,
how
"Oh, this is
fun.
going to be great."
Oh yeah.
And how far can you really go with it? And it was just basically saying, throw a little accent in there, do whatever you want, have fun with it. And those are so cool to
Mm.
get. So you just feel like whether you did it good, bad, or whatever, it was fun to do.
You had fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
Having an agent is always a struggle for me, for sure, because
Mm-hmm.
it does take more time. You're trying to do better. You have to do full reads. it takes more time. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not booking,
Yeah,
literally,
and then all
then
the
it's like,
labeling and all that. And what is hard for one of mine, they give you the same labeling specs for everything, and it's usually like your name, and then it's never distinct enough that when you save the file, every time I save it, it goes, "Do you want to replace this file?" And I'm like, "Well, no."
I know what you mean. I
And
just, yeah.
so then I started finally getting in the habit of right after I send it, I'll go back in and rename it if I need to keep them. But I'm also a terrible advocate about saving files because I don't save files anymore like I used to. I save um, if I've got something done for a client, I'll save it. But auditions and stuff, no, because voices.com saves them, Voice123 saves them. And for the agent ones, I may keep them. I've got a file that I run usually for about a month called Today's Work, and I just throw everything in that file, and then I'll go in every now and then, and anything over 30 days old, I delete it.
Hmm.
I just don't want to keep stuff.
Yeah, I save everything. I don't know. I
Yeah.
probably don't need to, that's for sure.
Well, I don't think I've ever had to go back and get anything to listen to or to do a pickup on that I couldn't find because, like I said, I keep the client stuff. But I don't think I've ever been challenged or asked on any of the other. I did have somebody actually yesterday. They wanted to know, was I available early next week? Going to change a tagline on it was a scratch read I did, and then they said the project got dropped. Well, now they came back and said not only are they going to take it, they're going to use your voice for it. We're just going to change the tagline. So I did the scratch read for like $150, and then they're going to apply that against what the full budget
Oh,
is and pay me the
good.
difference. But fortunately, I saved
You
that
have
one.
it.
I saved it as a real book job because even though it was a scratch, and I'm glad I did because I had to go
Yeah.
back and listen to how it sounded in whatever, some kind of furniture store. But
That's actually something maybe we can clear up for your listeners as well as me. On voices.com,
mm-hmm.
you save your files with your name attached to them, assuming that whoever's listening to it and considering you actually is able to download that file, or do
Mm-hmm.
they stay on voices.com and they're not allowed to get the file?
I don't I don't think they can download them if I remember correctly. Um, and I put my name. I have all of my files every day are the same. They have the date
Yeah.
2025 0514, then a dash, and then I put a space and another dash. So all I do all day long is go into the middle of those two dashes and put the name of their audition,
Mm-hmm.
and then I send it. So that's why I don't have to worry about renaming the file all day long and changing file names. So when they get that, it's going to show the name of their project and my name.
Right.
I remember another person in the business, and I won't pick on him, but he used to put his email address on the end.
That's a
And
great
they
idea.
finally caught him. They sent him a thing. You got to stop doing that. But he said he did it for like
Brilliant.
2 years before they ever said anything. So that's hilarious.
Love that.
But
Yeah, because
pretty
all these little
pretty
things that can
sneaky.
take time,
Yeah,
like every time I'm adding
yeah,
my name to a file, I'm like, I probably don't need to do this on voices.com. So I think I'm gonna
yeah.
stop.
You probably don't have to. Now, Voice123, they change the name of your file when you
I did
submit
not know
it.
that.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. It
Oh,
or it gets rid of it. I don't know how it does it, but I know I save them the same way like I do on the other. And then when I send it in, I notice when I go into the thing and look at it, it's got a different name.
interesting.
Yeah. So I don't
Mm.
know. There's a lot of stuff that probably goes on we don't know about. A lot of stuff. A lot of
Yep,
stuff.
that's for sure.
So, are you looking forward to possibly getting down to Dallas in the end of August when it's about 120 degrees and humid? And oh my gosh, it was so hot last year.
Yeah, I already bought my ticket and my flight and the hotel, and I decided to try that one instead of VO Atlanta this year because I've
Mm-hmm.
always gone to VO Atlanta, so I'm kind of excited, especially the more smallness of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to going back as well. I'm going to be staying with Charles Coates. I'm not going to stay at the hotel this year,
Mm,
so we're just going. He lives pretty close by, and we're just going to run back and forth. And he invited, and I'm looking forward to both uh, presenting and hanging out and seeing people. And I keep saying, I don't know how many more of these I want to go to, and da 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 da. But it's just good to see people, and
yeah.
and
Yeah.
um, you kind of wish things would be more around the more socially fun and friendly as much as it is, going to learn some stuff.
Yeah.
But conferences have been a big part of my journey, I guess, in the last 3 or 4 years. But it's coming to a point where it's like everything else. You start asking, is it really worth it? Do I really need to go? Does it really help my
Right.
career? What's it doing for me?
Right. And
At,
maybe
at this point,
eventually,
yeah,
yeah,
at this point.
emotionally for you, it's doing something to connect. But
Hmm.
as far as, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you actually. Do you pay for X sessions? What do you feel?
I have in the past, yeah. Last year at Dallas, I went to Mark Grau's session on animation, and I loved it. It was great. It gave me some new perspectives. Um, I went to two X sessions in Atlanta last year, and the year before, I went to like three X
Mm-hmm.
sessions. And yeah, I think they're helpful. What they did was, and I believe in voiceover and commercial stuff. Most people are teaching about the same thing, but it's
Right.
how they teach it and the way they can tell you to interpret this or see this, or this is how you become the character in this script. This is how I want you to get there. And I picked up different things from Dave Walsh, who was fantastic. I'd coached with Mark Ryder a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and there were things that the way he taught it, I got it quickly, and it helped me a lot. There were a couple things Dave said in his X session where a light bulb went off about using a prop, about, he said, well, who are you talking to? Well, I'm talking to my brother Frankie. Well, does Frankie like this type of cooking more than you or less than you? Well, he likes it more than me. Well, then you need to be Frankie, not you. And you need to
Mm-hmm.
be Frankie talking to you.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was awesome because I never took that
Yeah.
perspective before. And I
Right.
think learning, point of view and which person is it coming from? And here's a way to get different takes without really changing a whole lot, but just changing, you're the hospital administrator, but no, you're a family member talking about the hospital, and it just made it so easy and quick. And I'd been taught these things by other people, but the light bulb was not going off. And where it helped me was to take all of that stuff from all the different X sessions and different coaches and say, okay, sit down and write your 5 steps. Based on all the things they've taught you, I want to put 5 bullet points down where I can run through those fairly quickly to know where I'm going to go with this.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
really helped.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, I like the X sessions. They're fun.
I've always done them as well. And this year I feel like I get so nervous.
Hmm.
Like I've spent hours on stage singing all over the world for thousands of people, and that's so easy. But doing that, I'm like shaking,
Yeah.
and my it's like, so part of me is like I'm not doing it anymore because I'm never able to tap into my best or give my best.
Hmm.
And so if I'm, in a next session with, a possible agent or somebody who I really want to connect with, I'm just making myself look bad. So part of me is like,
Hmm.
maybe I'm not going to do that anymore. So I haven't decided yet, but it's been great to get to know people,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
how they want your auditions to come in. And actually, we've
Yeah.
talked about that recently. Like some want the ad lib, the lead in line, some want nothing,
Hmm.
so it's kind of good to get to know people like that and
Hmm.
see what they expect.
Hmm.
So that's been helpful.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. There's so many little things you can take away, and just it is true in this business. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. And that's one of the things these conferences are great for. You can go, you know, talk to people, introduce yourself to people, have conversations with them at the bar, in the lobby, out in the hall, whatever. And then they start recognizing you, your face, your name. And then when your auditions come in, if it is a casting director, oh yeah, he was a nice guy. I met him in Dallas. He was a nice guy. Maybe I ought to pay a little more attention to his reads. Who knows? You just don't know,
Absolutely.
but it all matters. These connections do matter.
Yeah.
I think
every little step you make is getting you further along.
Yeah.
Whether
yeah,
you're
for sure.
whether you're
For sure.
failing or not, it's just, it's just all in a big pile.
Yeah.
Making you better and better. So just
It does. It does. It does. All right. Before we go, I want to ask you this one question. You've been doing this 5 years or so. If you could go back and give yourself advice in that first year, what would you tell yourself to do a little differently, or how would you approach it?
I really have no idea what I want to say. I guess I wish I had coached more initially up front,
Mm-hmm.
because I was blessed and I got work a lot up front,
Mm-hmm.
but you learn bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're trying to break out of the bad habits.
Yeah.
So, I guess coach first. Like we keep hearing it, and I'm like, coach first. I made money first, but now I'm paying for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm learning all the bad habits.
Yeah. And that's exactly the same advice I would have given myself. I did kind of sort of start out with a coach. But once I did some stuff with them and I learned the DAW and what to do, because they were teaching everything, how to do your DAW, how to do your website, how to make samples. And, you went through 6 1-hour sessions. And when you came out of that, you thought, I got this.
Yeah.
I got it. And I, just like you, I went into Upwork and Fiverr and started making money. But then after about 6 months, I go, God, it's not a lot for what I'm doing. I'm not making a lot. What do I need to do? And that was when I started workshops and coaching. What little I was making, I was putting it right back in to workshops and coaching. And that's when things started to get better. And that took another 1.5 years or so. And then, then it became agents. And, I did better booking with agents my first year that I had agents than I've done since. And
wow.
I don't know why. I don't know. It's just, maybe it was just luck of the draw, but and then sometimes you start thinking, maybe I'm coaching too much. I'm in my head too much, and that can happen too. So I don't know.
For people starting, it's, what, just get ready for the grind. Grind.
Yeah,
And those who don't do that,
tough.
you're not gonna get anywhere, unfortunately.
That's right.
You're gonna have to grind it out and have thick skin and, find a buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta have people to talk to, or you will lose it. And as my good buddy Brad Grahowski, and he and I say this all the time, I've never worked harder for less, but I've never enjoyed anything anymore. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Well, we're going to wrap it up. We could probably go on another hour, but there's so much to talk about. I want to invite you back again before too long, but what I'd like to do is get you to come back and kind of co-host, and we will bring somebody else on to talk to and ask questions.
That'd be amazing.
And we'll have fun doing that. Yeah, I'm going to try to do a lot more of that this year, because after you crank out 170 something episodes, you're like, I don't know if I got anything else to talk about, but every week somebody will say something or do something stupid in a Facebook group, and you got a subject. So
yeah, you're right.
There's always something to do.
Thanks for having me, Troy. And
yes, I enjoyed it.
Last year I was about to quit, literally, and you're the guy who I reached out to, and I'm like, dude, I'm over this. This is done. And
I remember. I remember.
I appreciate you, and actually a lot of us appreciate you. You're a good person, and you give great advice, so thank you.
And that's another episode of The VO Life. Thanks for dropping in and hanging on. The VO Life was brought to you by voinbox.com.
The marketing tool that gives you back something others don't. Make an investment in your marketing that not only cultivates clients, but gives you back time.
If you are a professional voice actor and you need to up your direct email marketing game, VO Inbox might be for you.
Reach out to Troy in an email to get 25 leads free with your paid subscription. Send that email to troy@troyholdenvoices.com.
Need to talk about building your VO business? You can schedule time with Troy on his website in half-hour or full-hour sessions. There's even a free 15-minute consult available, all on the website at troyholdenvoices.com.
Thanks for being here, and join us again next week on the VO Life.